It was a cold evening in the city, and the sky was painted with soft orange lights as the sun slowly went down. Inside the tallest hotel tower, an important dinner event was being prepared. The hotel hall was decorated with golden lights, shining plates, and a long table covered with white cloth. Every chair was polished, every glass was shining, and every candle stood straight. It was not an ordinary night. It was a special business dinner arranged for a very famous billionaire, CEO named Ms. Aiko Tanaka. Ms. Aiko Tanaka was known around the world for her brilliant ideas and strong leadership. She invested in technology, schools, and global projects. Many people respected her. But she also had one small challenge. She felt shy speaking English in public. She knew English well on paper, but when she had to speak it in a big crowd, her voice became soft, and she struggled to find the right words. Tonight, she had to meet many international guests. Business partners from different countries waited to hear her plans. Reporters stood near the door with cameras. Everyone was excited, expecting a confident speech from the billionaire, CEO. Inside the kitchen, the workers were rushing with plates, soups, bread, and desserts. Among them was a young waitress named Maya, a calm and hardworking woman who always smiled at guests. She checked each table 2 times to make sure everything looked perfect. She was not rich or famous, but she had something special, a kind heart and a secret talent she rarely used. The hall filled slowly as guests walked in wearing beautiful dresses and formal suits. They greeted each other with warm smiles and small conversations about business, travel, and the city lights. But the excitement grew when the door opened and Ms. Aiko Tanaka entered. She wore a simple but elegant white dress, and she walked with confidence. Many guests stood up to greet her. Cameras flashed. People whispered, "There she is. She looks so calm. She must have something big to announce tonight." Ms. Tanaka nodded politely and took her seat at the center of the long table. For a moment, everything seemed perfect. The mood felt pleasant and full of expectations. Then the dinner began. The waiters served soup and bread. People talked quietly, waiting for the CEO to start the discussion. After a few minutes, the host smiled and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, our honored guest, Ms. Aiko Tanaka, will now share her message with us." The room became silent. Everyone looked at her. Ms. Tanaka held a small notebook in her hand. Inside it were notes written in tiny Japanese handwriting. She took a slow breath and started speaking. Thank you for coming. Tonight, her voice was soft, almost like a whisper. People leaned closer to hear her. She continued, "I want to discuss new project. We plan to start together." But her English sounded uncertain. She paused several times, searching for words. Some sentences came out broken. A few Japanese words slipped in, and the guests could not understand what she meant. She tried again, but her voice trembled slightly. The room began to shift with uncomfortable energy. Some guests exchanged confused looks. Others whispered to their partners, trying to guess her meaning. A few lifted their phones, pretending to check messages, avoiding eye contact. Maya, the young waitress, stood at the side, holding a tray. She watched the billionaire CEO struggling to express her thoughts. Maya could see the embarrassment growing on the CEO's face. Ms. Tanaka looked around the room, noticing the confused expressions. Her hands slightly tightened around the notebook. She tried one more time, speaking slowly. "We hope to improve. Education project. But again, her English mixed with Japanese words, and people lost the meaning. The host stepped forward and smiled nervously. "Maybe, we can," but he also did not know how to help. The silence became heavier. The beautiful hall now felt tense and uncomfortable. The dinner, which was supposed to be a great moment, was turning into a confusing and awkward scene. Everyone wanted to understand her, but no one could. Maya felt a deep sadness watching the CEO struggle. She remembered how it felt to not be understood. She had once lived in Japan for study, and she still understood Japanese very well. She had not used the language in a long time, but her ears instantly recognized each word Miss Tanaka spoke. From the side of the room, Maya watched the billionaire look down at her notebook, disappointed. No one in the hall realized she was speaking a mix of English and gentle Japanese phrases, except Maya. The guests continued staring silently. The CEO's shoulders lowered a little. Her eyes softened as if she felt completely alone in that crowded hall. Her lips moved quietly, repeating a Japanese sentence under her breath. A sentence full of meaning, but no one knew what it meant, except Maya. And in that moment, something inside Maya changed. She thought, if no one helps her now, this dinner will fail. And she will feel even more alone. She held the tray tightly. Her heart beat fast. She took a slow breath, and she began to step forward. The hall was still quiet when Ms. Aiko Tanaka lowered her eyes, trying to gather her thoughts again. The golden lights above her seemed too bright now, as if they were showing the whole room how uncomfortable she felt. Her hands, usually steady and confident in business meetings, now trembled slightly as she held her notebook. She glanced at the guests, hoping someone would understand at least a little bit of what she was saying. But all she saw were confused eyes, polite smiles, and unsure expressions. Everyone wanted to help, but no one knew how. And that made her feel even more alone. Miss Tanaka tried to calm her breathing. She looked at the notes she had prepared. The page was full of Japanese characters, clean, neat, and perfectly organized. She had written the English translation under each line, but when she tried to speak it aloud, the words didn't come out the same way. She whispered to herself in Japanese, "I practiced this. Why is it so hard now?" Her voice was so soft that even the closest guest could barely hear her. The host stepped forward again with a small, worried smile. He tried to lighten the moment. "Maybe Miss Tanaka just needs a bit more time," he said. But his voice lacked confidence, and the guests could tell he didn't know what to do next. One guest leaned to another and whispered, "Is she speaking English or something else?" Another replied quietly, "I think it's English. Maybe mixed with her language?" Someone else shrugged, "I'm not sure. I can't follow it." These small whispers reached Miss Tanaka's ears, and her heart sank a little more. She felt embarrassed. She was one of the richest and most respected businesswomen in the world, yet at this moment, she felt powerless. She looked at the crowd again. Almost everyone had their hands folded, waiting politely. But their expressions were clear. No one understood her message. No one understood her feelings. No one understood her language, and that hurt. At the side of the hall, Maya the waitress saw all of it. She noticed how the CEO's confidence faded with every failed sentence. She saw the slight tremble in her fingers and the sadness in her eyes. Maya felt something heavy in her chest. Sympathy. Maya remembered when she first moved to Japan years ago. She couldn't understand anyone around her. People smiled kindly, but their words were strange, and she often felt lost. She knew exactly how Miss Tanaka felt now, surrounded by people yet completely alone. Maya whispered quietly to herself, "She's trying so hard. Someone has to help her," but she stayed where she was for the moment, watching closely. At the center of the room, Miss Tanaka tried again. She lifted her head and smiled gently, even though she was nervous. "I want to share new idea. For education," she said softly. She paused, searching for the next words. Working on a school project in many places." Her English sounded broken. Some guests leaned in. Some looked away, unsure how to react. Then, without realizing it, Miss Tanaka switched into Japanese. "We want to build schools for the children." Her words were full of meaning, full of emotion, but no one in the hall understood. Except Maya. The host stepped forward again, trying to turn the situation around. "Maybe we can continue with the meal first." But Miss Tanaka raised her hand politely, showing she wanted to finish her thoughts. She tried once more. mixing Japanese and English in one sentence. Children need support. Help give future. The room grew quiet again, not because people understood her, but because they didn't. Her message, a message about helping children, building schools, and making the world better, was lost in the silence. Miss Tanaka pressed her notebook lightly against her chest. She thought, why can't they understand? Why can't I say it right? Her eyes became slightly glossy, but she blinked the feeling away. She didn't want people to think she was weak. She didn't want people to think she didn't belong here. As she looked at the large room, she realized something important. Money can open doors. Success can bring attention. Achievements can bring respect. But none of those things matter when people cannot understand your voice. For the first time in a long time, Miss Tanaka felt small. Near the side of the hall, Maya saw the CEO's quiet struggle. She saw the soft pain hidden behind her calm face. She watched every expression, every pause, and every attempt to explain. And that's when Maya realized something even more important. The CEO wasn't failing because she lacked knowledge. She was failing because she lacked a voice that people understood. Maya felt her heart move again. She took one step forward, then another. Her fingers tightened gently around the tray she was holding, but she stopped halfway. Her mind raced. Should I help? Should I speak? What if I embarrass her more? What if people think I'm being rude? She hesitated, unsure. Meanwhile, the guests shifted uncomfortably. Someone coughed. Someone checked their watch. The beautiful dinner had turned into a confusing moment that no one knew how to fix. Miss Tanaka looked down at her notes again. Her shoulders lowered gently, as if she felt defeated. She whispered in Japanese, "No one understands." And that was the moment Maya's hesitation broke. Because she did understand. She straightened her back slowly, took a calming breath, and began walking toward the center of the room, toward the struggling CEO, toward the silence, and toward the moment that was about to change everything. Maya's steps were small at first, almost unsure, but her heart was full of a quiet courage she didn't even know she had until this moment. The hall was large, and every step she took felt louder inside her mind, even though the room was silent. She walked slowly, holding her serving tray close to her chest. She didn't want to interrupt. She didn't want to disrespect anyone. She only wanted to help the person who looked the most lost in the room, the billionaire CEO, Ms. Aiko Tanaka. While Maya moved forward, the rest of the guests hardly noticed her. Their eyes stayed on Ms. Tanaka, who was still trying her best to gather her words. The host, standing beside the CEO, looked stressed, as if he feared the event was slipping away. The uneasiness in the room felt heavy. But Maya noticed something no one else seemed to see. She noticed the CEO's breathing, shallow, careful, and nervous. She noticed the way Ms. Tanaka's fingers trembled each time she turned a page of her notebook. She noticed the soft Japanese words that escaped from her lips, almost like a quiet cry for help. Most of all, Maya noticed how alone the CEO looked, even though she was surrounded by powerful people. Maya reached a spot close enough to hear the CEO clearly, but far enough to keep her place as a waitress. She did not speak yet. She just listened. And then it happened again. Miss Tanaka tried one more time to explain her idea. "We want to build new school for children who have no." She paused, searching for the right word. "Opportunity," she whispered finally. Maya could tell she had practiced that sentence many times. But saying it aloud in front of so many people made the CEO's voice shake. The next part came out in Japanese again, soft but full of emotion. "But we need more hands, more support." To everyone else, it sounded like a gentle, confusing sound. To Maya, it was a complete message. She felt her heart jump. She understood everything. Every word, every emotion, every struggle behind the words. Memories rushed into Maya's mind, the days she spent in Japan as a student. She remembered walking through narrow streets, reading signs slowly, learning new sounds, greeting shop owners in simple Japanese and making small mistakes. She remembered her Japanese teacher smiling kindly and telling her, "It takes courage to speak a new language." Now, watching the CEO, Maya felt that same truth again. It takes courage to speak when no one understands you. As Miss Tanaka continued, her voice began to break a little. "We hope to give children a better future, but—" She hesitated. Meanwhile, the guests looked more confused. Some looked away politely to avoid showing it. A few glanced at the host, hoping he would fix the situation. But he looked just as lost as everyone else. Maya watched the CEO helplessly. She saw Ms. Tanaka's eyes drop again, the spark dimming. Her shoulders lowered slightly, and she drew a quiet breath, the kind someone takes when they feel like giving up. That was when Maya understood something clearly. No one else in this room could help her. No translator was present. No assistant stepped forward. No one recognized her language. But Maya did. And if she stayed silent, the CEO would walk out of this night feeling defeated, even though her message was beautiful and full of hope. Maya whispered to herself, "She deserves to be heard." The words gave her strength. She stepped forward again, slower but more certain than before. As she reached the center of the hall, she realized all eyes were now shifting toward her. The guests noticed her movement. The host noticed her too. Even Miss Tanaka lifted her head slightly, surprised to see a waitress walking toward her. Maya felt her heartbeat in her ears, but she didn't stop. She came close enough to speak softly, but clear enough for the CEO to hear. Then, with a gentle voice, she said the first Japanese words she had spoken in years. "Excuse me, may I help you?" The entire room froze. Every head turned. Every whisper stopped. Every fork and spoon paused midair. The billionaire CEO stared at Maya with wide eyes full of shock and relief. It was as if someone had suddenly opened a window and let fresh air rush in. For a moment, neither of them said anything. The connection between them felt strong and surprising. Maya stood respectfully, her hands slightly shaking but her eyes steady. And then, slowly, Miss Tanaka's face changed. Her eyes softened. Her lips curved into the smallest, sweetest smile. A smile of pure gratitude. A smile that said, "Thank you. Someone understands me." It was the first time all night that the CEO looked truly at ease. And the guests looked at Maya with amazement, wondering how a simple waitress had just stepped into a moment where everyone else had failed. What happened next would change the whole night and both of their lives. For a few long seconds, the room felt like it had stopped moving. Even the air seemed to pause. People stared at Maya as if she had done something impossible. A simple waitress had just spoken perfect Japanese to one of the most powerful CEOs in the world. Maya stood there with her hands gently holding her tray, her back straight, but her heart beating fast. She didn't know what reaction would come next, but she knew she had done the right thing. She had stepped forward because she could not watch someone struggle alone. Ms. Aiko Tanaka blinked, surprised, almost emotional. Her eyes widened slightly, but not in fear or confusion. Instead, they showed pure relief. For the first time that night, someone had spoken to her in a language she felt safe in. She slowly placed her notebook on the table and looked directly at Maya. Then, in a soft voice filled with gratitude, she replied, "Thank you. You are truly helping me." The sound of their conversation made the room shift. Guests leaned in, not understanding the language, but understanding that something important had just happened. Maya bowed her head slightly, the way she remembered people doing in Japan, even though she was trembling a little inside. She whispered back gently, "Of course. I'm here to help." The host, who had been frozen with worry only minutes before, took a step back, watching the scene unfold. He didn't interrupt. He could tell this was exactly what the CEO needed. Maya looked at Miss Tanaka with kind eyes. She didn't want to make the CEO feel small. She didn't want to take over her moment. She only wanted to support her, make her voice stronger, and help everyone understand the message she was trying so hard to share. Would you like me to translate? Maya asked in Japanese, speaking slowly and politely. The CEO nodded quickly, her shoulders relaxing for the first time that evening. Yes, please, she replied. Her voice was soft but clear, and there was a new brightness in her expression, a light that had been missing since the dinner began. Maya smiled back, encouraged. She turned toward the guests, who were all watching in silence, waiting to hear what would happen next. In English, Maya spoke clearly. She would like to explain her new education project. She wants to build schools for children who do not have opportunities. The guests exchanged impressed looks. The message was finally clear. People nodded in understanding, their faces warming with interest. Maya then turned back to Ms. Tanaka, giving her a gentle signal to continue. The CEO spoke again, slowly in Japanese. This project has the power to change the lives of children all around the world. Maya translated smoothly and confidently, every word flowing like she had prepared for this moment her whole life. The project can change the future of children everywhere, she said. A wave of understanding spread through the hall. The CEO's message was finally reaching the people she wanted to speak to. The more Maya translated, the calmer the CEO became. Her voice grew stronger, her words more passionate. It was as if Maya had taken away the heavy weight from her shoulders. Some guests even smiled, pleasantly surprised. A few whispered to each other, "Wow. She speaks beautifully. This project sounds important." And the waitress, "She's incredible." But Maya didn't let the attention distract her. She stayed focused on her job, not the job she came for, but the job her heart had chosen. At one point, the CEO paused and looked directly at Maya again. Her eyes were filled with something deeper than relief, respect. "Maya-san," she said softly in Japanese. "I'm glad you are here." Maya almost felt her eyes water. No one had ever said something like that to her at her workplace. She pressed her lips together and nodded respectfully. When the CEO continued speaking about her dream, her mission, her hope to bring education to children in difficult places, Maya translated each part with care. The guests listened with full attention now. The room that was once silent with confusion was now silent with respect. The host quietly stepped back, letting the moment belong to the two women, one powerful and one ordinary, yet both extraordinary tonight. By the time Ms. Tanaka finished her thoughts, the hall was filled with soft murmurs of admiration. Her message had finally reached everyone, thanks to the quiet courage of one waitress. Maya stepped back slowly, bowing her head politely, ready to return to her place. But before she could move, the CEO gently reached out and touched Maya's hand, a simple gesture filled with warmth. "Stay," she whispered in Japanese. "Please stay near me." Maya froze for a moment, her heart filled with a mix of surprise and honor. A waitress normally stood far from important guests, but Ms. Tanaka wanted her close. And so, for the first time ever, Maya stood beside a billionaire CEO at a formal dinner, not as a server, but as the one person who had understood her voice when no one else could. This moment would not only change the dinner, it would change both of their lives forever. The atmosphere in the grand hall slowly shifted, almost like someone had opened a window and let warm air flow inside. Only minutes ago, the room felt tight and uncomfortable, but now it felt lighter, brighter, and full of new energy. All because a quiet waitress had stepped forward and helped a billionaire CEO find her voice again. Maya stood beside Ms. Aiko Tanaka, feeling the curious eyes of every guest on her. She had never been in the center of attention like this before. Her hands felt warm, and her heart still beat fast, but she kept a calm expression. She didn't want to make the CEO nervous again. She wanted to help, nothing more. Ms. Tanaka gave a small, grateful nod before continuing her explanation in Japanese. Her voice sounded more confident now, all thanks to Maya's presence. "We believe education builds the future." Maya translated clearly. She believes education is the key to shaping tomorrow. Then the CEO spoke again, her tone full of passion and hope. We want to give children more chances in life. Maya repeated the message in English with the same emotion the CEO used. She wants to give children more opportunities. The guests listened closely, nodding, understanding every word now. This time, they saw the true meaning behind the CEO's message. They no longer saw a woman struggling to speak English. They saw a leader with a beautiful idea and a deep heart. The room felt united. A few guests whispered, "This project is amazing. She's so passionate. I finally understand her vision." And some looked at Maya with admiration. "That waitress is unbelievable. She saved the entire dinner. She's talented and brave." But Maya didn't look proud. She wasn't showing off. She simply continued translating with gentle movements, focusing only on the CEO's words. If anything, she looked humble, like she couldn't believe she was doing something so important. At the long dinner table, the host slowly relaxed. Earlier he had been worried the whole event might fall apart, but now he watched with grateful eyes. He had never expected help to come from a place so simple, from a waitress who had been serving water only an hour ago. Miss Tanaka continued speaking, her voice steady and filled with emotion. As she talked about building schools, helping families, and bringing hope to children in need, the room felt warm with respect. People saw her differently now. They appreciated her honesty, her dream, and her gentle strength. Maya translated each word like a soft bridge between two worlds. As the CEO spoke about her own childhood, how she grew up with limited support, how hard she worked to become who she was, the guests felt moved. Some even lowered their eyes thoughtfully, touched by her sincerity. When Maya translated these personal words, her voice shook slightly with emotion. She understood exactly how the CEO felt. She had also worked hard in her life. She had also started from a simple place, fighting for every opportunity. That made her connection with the CEO even stronger. Finally, the CEO paused and looked at Maya again, this time with open gratitude shining in her eyes. She said gently in Japanese, "If it weren't for you, I couldn't have shared my heart tonight." Maya felt her chest tighten with emotion, but she kept her composure. She translated the message softly. She says, "Without help tonight, she could not share her heart." The room grew even quieter. The guests exchanged warm glances. They understood that something unusual and beautiful had happened, something deeper than business. A billionaire and a waitress had formed a bond through kindness and courage. As the speaking session ended, people began clapping. It wasn't a loud or forceful applause. It was gentle yet full of respect. And although it was meant for the CEO, many eyes were on Maya, appreciating her bravery. Her cheeks turned a light shade of pink. She bowed her head politely, not used to such attention. Some guests even stood up and clapped a little louder. The CEO watched the room with a soft smile. For the first time since she arrived, she felt fully understood, fully welcomed. And the person who made that possible was standing right beside her, wearing a simple uniform but carrying a golden heart. When the applause slowed down, the CEO leaned slightly toward Maya and whispered in Japanese, "Please stay near me a little longer." Maya nodded quietly. The waiters around the room exchanged amazed glances. Never in their lives had they seen a guest, especially a CEO, invite a waitress to stay at such a formal table. As the dinner continued, Maya translated smaller conversations, answered polite questions from guests, and made sure the CEO felt comfortable. She did everything with calm grace. And every time Ms. Tanaka looked at her, she looked relieved and grateful. By the end of the meal, the room was filled with gentle laughter, warm conversations, and a sense of unity that wasn't there before. Everyone could see it clearly. One kind act had changed the entire night. And little did Maya know, this night was only the beginning of a change far bigger than she could imagine. When the dinner finally came to a close, the mood in the room was completely different from how it had started. The tension that once floated in the air like a heavy cloud was now gone. Warm conversations filled the hall. Soft laughter could be heard near the tables. People were still talking about the CEO's project, and some even discussed how they wanted to support it. But the person everyone kept whispering about was Maya, the quiet waitress who had stepped forward at the perfect moment. Maya tried her best to slip back into the background, but it was not easy. Several guests smiled at her kindly. A few thanked her quietly as she passed by with empty plates. Another guest whispered, "You did something special tonight," as he handed her a glass. Maya felt shy with every compliment. She just nodded and smiled politely. She never wanted attention. She only wanted to help someone who looked alone. But the night wasn't over for her. After the guests slowly began gathering near the exit, Ms. Aiko Tanaka stood up from her chair. She gathered her notebook, held it gently, and looked around the hall with grateful eyes. Her gaze searched for someone and then stopped when she found Maya. She walked toward her. The host tried to speak with the CEO again, but she gave him a polite smile and continued walking. Even the security guard hesitated, unsure if he should follow, but the CEO raised her hand softly, signaling them to stay back. She wanted a private moment. Maya, who was organizing utensils at a side table, didn't even realize the CEO was approaching until she heard a gentle voice behind her. "Maya-san." Maya turned quickly, surprised. She almost dropped a fork she was holding. "Yes?" she said softly. The CEO smiled, a kind, sincere smile that went straight to Maya's heart. "Thank you," Ms. Tanaka said in simple English first. Then she switched to Japanese, her tone deeper, filled with real emotion. "Without you, I surely would have failed tonight." Maya's eyes softened. She bowed her head slightly, remembering the manner she used in Japan. "I was happy to help," she replied, also in Japanese. The CEO stepped closer, lowering her voice so their conversation felt personal and warm. "You didn't just help me," she said. "You saved my whole message. You let them understand my heart." Maya looked down shy. "I just translated," she said. "You already had the message." Ms. Tanaka shook her head gently. "Sometimes," she said, "a voice needs another voice to be heard." Her words carried a quiet wisdom that made Maya pause. The message felt bigger than just this night. It felt like something Maya needed to hear, something about purpose, destiny, and the power of small actions. The CEO glanced around the room before speaking again. "When I was speaking earlier, I felt lost," she admitted. "I prepared for this dinner for many weeks. I studied English again and again. But when I looked at all those eyes, I froze." Maya nodded slowly. "I understand," she whispered. "Speaking in front of people is hard, especially in another language." The CEO's expression softened with recognition, as if she had found someone who truly understood her feelings. "You understood me," she said gently. "Even when no one else did." Maya took a slow breath. "I lived in Japan for 2 years," she explained quietly. "I studied there. I learned the language. When you spoke, it reminded me of my teachers, of my friends. I could feel how much you cared." The CEO smiled with genuine warmth. "I am grateful you came into the room tonight," she said. "Maybe it was fate." Maya laughed softly, embarrassed. "I don't know about fate," she said, "but I'm glad I could help." The CEO hesitated for a moment and then leaned closer, speaking with a gentle seriousness. "Maya," she said in a respectful tone, "you have a gift. A rare one. Not just for language, for understanding." Maya's heart fluttered, unsure how to respond. "You didn't wait for permission," the CEO continued. "You didn't worry about status. You saw a human in need, and you stepped forward." Maya's throat tightened a little. She wasn't used to praise. She had always been the type to stand back quietly. "And because of you," the CEO said softly, "tonight became a success." Maya lowered her head again. "Thank you. But I just did what felt right." The CEO looked at her thoughtfully, as if studying someone truly special. "Will you walk with me for a moment?" she asked. Maya blinked, surprised. "Me?" "Yes," the CEO said with a small nod. "You." Maya followed her to a quieter corner of the hall, away from the remaining guests. The golden light seemed softer here, and the noise faded into a gentle background sound. The CEO turned to face her. "Maya, I want to help you too," she said with calm confidence. "Tonight, you helped my voice. I want to help your future." Maya froze. "My future?" she whispered. "Yes," the CEO said. "You have talent. You have courage. And I believe your journey should not end in this hall." Maya felt her breath catch. Something big was coming, something she could not yet imagine. The CEO took out a small business card and held it out with both hands in the respectful Japanese way. "Tomorrow," she said, "my office will call you." Maya stared at the card, shocked. "For what?" she asked in a tiny voice. The CEO smiled, a meaningful, life-changing smile. "For an opportunity," she said. "One that someone like you deserves." Maya's heart shook gently. Her simple act of helping someone had turned into something she never expected. And the night was not even over yet. The next morning, sunlight entered Maya's small apartment through thin curtains. She woke up slowly, still unsure if last night had truly happened or if her mind had created a beautiful dream. She lay still for a moment, replaying everything in her head: the grand hall, the confused guests, the CEO's soft Japanese, and the moment she stepped forward. Her heart warmed as she remembered the CEO's final words: "Tomorrow, my office will call you." But now that it was morning, doubt crept in. Maybe she was just being polite, Maya thought. Maybe she won't really call. Someone as powerful as her must meet many people. Maybe she will forget. Maya got ready for her usual shift, tying her apron and preparing her hair. She stood in front of the mirror for a long moment, looking at her own reflection more deeply than usual. She looked the same, simple uniform, simple life, but something inside her felt different. She felt braver. She walked to work with quiet hope, though she told herself not to expect anything. At the hotel, her coworkers greeted her excitedly. "Maya, you were amazing last night." "That was incredible. Everyone is talking about you today. You're famous in the hotel now." She smiled shyly, trying to hide her blush. She didn't like attention, but she appreciated their kindness. Just as she was about to pick up a tray, the hotel manager hurried toward her. "Maya," he said, breathless, "there's a call for you. A very important one." Her heart skipped a beat. "Who is it?" she asked nervously. The manager swallowed hard. "It's from the office of Ms. Aiko Tanaka." For a moment, everything around Maya went quiet. The clinking dishes, the footsteps, the chatter, all faded away. She followed the manager to his small office, where a phone rested on the desk. The red light blinked. Her hands trembled a little as she lifted the receiver. "Hello." A polite, calm voice answered. "Good morning. May I speak with Ms. Maya?" "Yes." "This is Maya. This is the personal assistant of Ms. Tanaka. She asked that I call you first thing this morning." Maya held her breath. "Ms. Tanaka would like to meet you at her company office today," the assistant continued. "She has an offer for you. Transportation has already been arranged if you accept." Maya could barely speak. "Yes, I can come," she said softly. "Wonderful," the assistant replied kindly. "We will send a car to pick you up in 2 hours." When the call ended, Maya just stood there, frozen with disbelief. The manager looked at her curiously. What did she say? Maya's voice was barely a whisper. "She wants to meet me." The manager's mouth fell open in shock. "Maya, this is huge. Go, don't worry about today. We will cover your shift." Her coworkers cheered and hugged her warmly, sending her off with big smiles. For the first time in her life, Maya felt like her steps carried a new meaning. 2 hours later, a black car arrived for her. The driver greeted her politely and opened the door. Maya sat inside, her heart thumping at every turn the car made. Finally, they reached a tall glass building, the headquarters of the famous CEO. She walked inside nervously. Everything looked elegant: polished floors, large windows, soft music. The receptionist greeted her. "You must be Ms. Maya. Please write this way." Maya followed her to the elevator, which took her to the top floor. The doors opened to a private office with a beautiful view of the city. There, standing near the window, was Ms. Eko Tanaka. She turned around with a warm smile. "Maya-san," she said gently. "I'm happy you came." Maya bowed slightly, remembering her manners. "Thank you for inviting me." The CEO walked toward her, her expression soft and welcoming. "I thought a lot about you last night," she said. "About your courage, about your kindness, about how you helped me speak when I felt lost." Maya looked down shyly. "I only translated." "No," the CEO said firmly, but kindly. "You gave me confidence. You gave me support. And more than anything, you understood me." She paused, then continued. "I want someone like you on my team." Maya lifted her head in surprise. "Me? But I'm just a waitress." The CEO smiled gently. "No, you are smart, brave, talented, and compassionate. And those qualities matter more than anything." She walked to her desk, picked up a paper, and handed it to Maya. "This is an offer," she explained. "A job as my communication support assistant. You will help with language, meetings, and international events." Maya's eyes widened. "A job with you?" "Yes," the CEO said. "A real job. With training, a good salary, and a chance to grow." Maya felt her hands tremble. Tears softly filled her eyes, not from sadness, but from overwhelming joy. "But why me?" she whispered. The CEO stepped closer, her voice soft. "Because you stepped forward," she said. "Because you saw a person, not a title. Because you spoke when everyone else stayed silent." Maya covered her mouth in disbelief. "You changed my night," the CEO said. "Now let me change your life." At that moment, Maya knew her world was shifting, not because she searched for success, but because she chose kindness. She bowed deeply, tears shining in her eyes. "I accept," she whispered. The CEO smiled brightly. "Welcome to the team, Maya." And so the simple waitress who once blended quietly into the background now stepped into a new chapter, standing proudly beside a billionaire CEO, not as a server, but as a bridge between voices, cultures, and dreams. Her courage had changed a night. Her kindness had changed a heart. And now, her future was changing too.